Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Acharya Ashtattar Shatah Śrīmad His Divine Grace Love Charana Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagadguru Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Deputy Founder-Acharya Jagadguru Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtattar Shatah Śrīmad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमस्कार श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रज में वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समावेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. Glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, chapter number 16 and text number 7. Titikshate akramam vainyaha upari akramatam api bhutanam karunaha sasvat artanam kshiti vrittiman titikshate kramam vainya upari akramatam api bhutanam karuna sashvat artanam kshiti vrittiman titikshtyakramam vainya upari akramatam api bhutanam karuna sashvat artanam kshiti vrittiman titikshati akramam vainya upari akramatam api bhutanam karuna sashvat artanam kshiti vrittiman titikshati, tolerates, akramam, offense, vainyaha, the son of King Vena, upari, on his head, akramatam, of those who are trampling, api, also, bhutanam, to all living entities, karunaha, very kind-hearted, shashvat, always, artanam, to the aggrieved, kshitivrittiman, accepting the profession of the earth. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The King Pruthu, this King Pruthu will be very, very kind to all citizens. Even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations, the king, out of his causeless mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving. As a protector of the world, he will be as tolerant as the earth itself. King Pruthu is herein compared to the earthly planet as far as his tolerance is concerned. Although the earth is always trampled upon by men and animals, it still gives food to them by producing grains, fruits and vegetables. As an ideal king, Maharaj Pruthu is compared to the earthly planet. For even though some citizens might violate the rules and regulations of the state, he would still be tolerant and maintain them with fruits and grains. In other words, it is the duty of the king to look after the comforts of the citizens, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. This is not the case, however, in Kali Yuga, for in Kali Yuga, the kings and the heads of the state enjoy the life at the cost of the taxes exacted from the citizens. Such unfair taxation makes the people dishonest, and the people try to hide their income in so many ways. Eventually, the state will not be able to collect taxes and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse, and there will be chaos and disturbance all over the state. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshul Militan Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadandigam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jutapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Titikshtyakramam vainya upari akramataamapi bhutanam karunah shashvatartanam kshitivrittiman. Kshitivrittiman means the profession of the earth. What is the profession? She is doing some job, yes. And that becomes the virtue of the king. And this verses now, the professional reciters are describing the Vaishnava characteristics of the king. That the king should be very tolerant. In the sense that because everybody is his praja, as if they are his children. All the citizens are his children. And as the children, sometimes they make mistakes or they deliberately do some mischief. The father is tolerant of them. He can't discriminate. Swapotana. In such a king, everybody will become fearless. Now, out of misuse of fearlessness, they do violate sometimes. And because king is tolerating, therefore they will do little more mischief. It's but natural, But the importance here is given to the Vaishnava characteristic. Generally the king or the head of state has the command of punishment. That is the highest order that he can command. But at the same time, he can also forgive. It's not one way. The danda is meant for corrections. But for a sannyasi, the danda is for self-correction. One who is becoming free. So they are called nyasta danda. Nyasta means nullified. Nullifying danda. That means a sannyasi is supposed to be not in as a power as a controller. He should give up everything, good, bad, punishment, reward. That should not be his business. But the king's character, a Vaishnava character, is of tolerance. He can't jump up and start chastising everybody. If you do not obey my order, I will punish you. No. So therefore, the ruling aspect in every country, it is still through the agency of so many advisors, the ministers and other things, to give proper guidance. It's not an easy job. But Kshiti Vrittiman means even though they trample on you, you do not lose. People say, oh, you made this mistake, but without proving them, they say you should resign. This Kali Yuga. They create the disturbance. In India, it's happening every day. It's happening every day. The demeanor of the king or the head of the state should be very composed. And if somebody is composing himself, the opposition party that lost would become very, very, agitated if something is told which will, an opposition party is always supposed to oppose it. Always in opposition. Even though if you say something for the good of the general people, they will oppose. Because they are in opposing party. Whatever you say. So can you understand how much tolerance is required? They are deliberately trampling upon your head. So these are very extraordinary qualities of the leader of the state. Right? On the other behalf, one will get so much criticism even if he becomes a head of state, but he lashes out at anything and everything as if he knows everything. But he doesn't have welfare of the people in mind. That's happening in America. So the idea is that one should be more tolerant and free. And here it is tolerant is the nature of the earth. Tarorapi shahisnuna. But he is here, the idea is given, kshiti vrittiman. Kshiti means the earth, and vritti means tolerance. So on that estimation, you can imagine his father Vena must have ruined the entire earth planet. That she became rebellious. Kshitivrittiman has limitation too. But in an estimation of the head of the state, she is more tolerant than anybody. There are many nations, and many nations are exploiting the resources of the nature. And she is still tolerating colossal abuse. But nonetheless, there are reverses also. So, the king or the head of the state has a duty to tolerate. Here it is said that if a person, even out of ignorance or with some knowledge of making mischief, try to trample on the head of the state, he will be forgiving. You can read the newspaper and every day they are abusing with bad words to the head of the state in India. Every day. And he keeps silent. Tolerance. Then they say, why is he keeping silence? There must be some wrong. Something wrong is going on. So in this way, Kali Yuga is becoming Vena's country. The rule of Kali is like the Vena. Want to take everything in opposition for the welfare of the people, and the head of the states have to be blamed for it. But those wise, those who have come out for the welfare of the people in general without any discrimination, that is their first motto. Even though they belong to any party, they have to work for the people. They can't use the people for their vote bank only and deprive the welfare of the people in general. In this way, India suffered even after independence. Where the majority of the people have been under subjugation of an atheistic government. Atheistic government. The concentration of the Indian populace is so much theistic that even Britishers tried to demolish it, because that is the only impediment in controlling Indians. Even at such an extent that they taught the languages even in English, the vernacular languages they taught, just to dismantle. But yet they could not do that. Therefore they had to quit ingloriously. So there is the potency achieved through the scriptures by cultivating such ideal characters in the head of the state. And those who are pious, they will do the best of the welfare. But the politics is impious activity. Politics is impious activity. It is not for the welfare of nobody. They may rule, but they cannot. They will abuse and they will completely ruin the nation. So these are the expectations, and they have been forecasted by this Sutta and Magadha for Maharaj Pruthu. That this is the kind of character he would have, and it is ideal Vaishnava character. Tolerant. And even though he is a king, he will be tolerating abuses himself. But if the abuses on the country will be there, then he will have strictness. So like that. So, King Pruthu is very appropriately compared to Mother Earth as far as the tolerance is concerned. For even though some citizens might violate the rules and regulations of the state, he would still be tolerant and maintain them with fruit and grains. If you see that even though one is punished, but he should be supplied his daily needs. Even in jail you have your meals. They respect the life, but they respect the ideal behavior also. And therefore there is correction in the jail. A jail is called correctional unit. But Mother Earth is also invested with correctional power, Prakriti. Prakriti is also invested with correctional powers. The natural disasters are also coming into correctional powers. We think that, by living in the city and this and that, we do not, abuse Mother Earth. But can you imagine the problems that we create? As far as example, the garbage. Garbage is a big issue, environmental issue. And the government has to take such responsibility. You mess it up, and government has to do. Like a newborn child, he messes up himself, and the mother has, without any problem, she is willingly taking the task to clean up. Why? It's out of duty, and the duty is to be performed out of love. So, Udara-charitanam is very important. So, these characters are compiling the most liberal character of a Vaishnava. Otherwise, those who are selfish, not Udara. So he thinks, Ayam nija parovetti lagunam lagu chetasam. This is mine, that is yours, and keeps, protecting his own and disregard the protection of others. So they are called little-minded people, lagu chetasam. Their consciousness is very constricted. But udar-charitanam vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Those who are udar-charitra, magnanimous-hearted, for them the entire world is a family. So global outlook is more important than little outlook. So as ISKCON also grows, they should have a global vision. But nonetheless, they should work for the common devotees. The welfare of the devotees is most important. Sometimes somebody becomes rebellious, but then they should be tolerant rather than, okay, get out from the institution. Officially you bar him this way, that way. There is no udar charitra. They don't want to look into the problem, but rather they want to look into the immediate easiness. That is correct. They will have so many excuses, this, that. But a Vaishnava character is always liberal. If we have no tolerance, tolerance is the most important virtue. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. For every devotee, not that some devotees only have to be tolerant, or the junior devotees have to be tolerant and the seniors should not because they are in control. Many misunderstandings still floating around in our own institution. But the character of Prithu Maharaj is very magnanimously described, and the quality of tolerance has been emphasized here, that he is as tolerant as Mother Earth. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj was so much tolerant, very, very tolerant, because he was having firm conviction that all the living entities are supposed to be an instrument in the hands of Lord Krishna. So whatever events are coming and unfolding before us, the Lord is in control. Somebody wants to serve their Lord, then they are given opportunities, but they cannot become the controller. They cannot become the controller, because that will be an offensive position, one may comment. Today we received the judgment on New York temple case. the Supreme Court for the second time declared that Bharati Center is not an independent entity. It is part of the ISKCON, and government, the GBC, and the hierarchy, it has been said, is the real in charge of it. But we see a lot of resistance still. And GBC has up till now kept the friendship with the oppositions because they are tolerant. But legally, he has no jurisdiction over the institutional running. The GBC appointed new management team is taking over, but with all caution and patience, without any political agenda. That is the character of the devotee, and we have to learn from this. Even in our individual dealings, sometimes we become too much attached to the service. And we think our comfort is only in doing this service. But there is no magnanimity. We are service-oriented, and we think we are in the center instead of Krishna. We think, especially when we were talking, that in our house also we worship, and there we think we have to worship according to our convenience. Householders are allowed, because Krishna is tolerant. But in the temple, you are not in the center, he is in the center, Krishna. Radha Vallabha is in the center. So his convenience is to be taken into account. You have to be on time, this, that, etc. You know? Because this is his house and his rules. It is not set on our convenience. So the point is that we need to execute the Lord's desire, whether we are empowered or not. Empowerment will follow to those suitably conducive to accept the responsibility by the mercy of the Lord. But one cannot be artificially pumped up. Many times, in many temples, they made mess. They made mess, as if they are learning at the expense of the congregation, at the expense of the development of the institution. You know, people think they are in the center, not Krishna. Yes, they are trampling. But the government has to be tolerant at certain extent, but should always take the measure to provide the institution for education of people in general, not for one's own aggrandizement. Yes. So there should be sufficient oversight from advanced devotees. And we have to carry on the movement through the Vaishnava medium of Vaishnavism. And such characters are shown that every head of the state has to cultivate this kind of ideal behavior. Those who are out of Vedic periphery, they may not understand this importance. Right? Do you think barbarians were doing such job of tolerance? No. But through civilization, it's important. Prabhupada gives an example of Alexander the Great. He was such a person. One time one thief was brought in front of him to get punished. And the thief said, "Before you punish, I have one question. If you can answer, please." He said, "What's the difference between you and me?" He said, "I'm a small thief, but you are a great thief." And Alexander the Great, he said, "Yes, you are right. Okay, release him." So like that. But the idea is that the quality of tolerance should be there. So it is herein foretold that if there would be scarcity of rain, King Prithu would manage to counteract the deficiency by the virtue of his godly powers. The king is called Naradev. He is put on the equal level of supply and management of Mother Earth, as the demigods are in charge of such management. So a king, an ideal king, is also equally put in the charge of managing. Where there is scarcity, he should supply. And that is a godly power. That's a godly power. People do out of compassion. But sometimes it so happens that things happen from time to time. Disasters are happening from time to time, whether man-made disaster or Mother Nature-made disaster. But it is happening time to time. And there is a relief fund. But someone used the relief to, add a mileage towards their prestige, profit, and adoration. These three things are hidden agenda. But the ideal king or the leader, they don't have. In Prithu Maharaj's character, such hidden agenda is not there, seven except to serve the Lord. So the great difference would be created from the modern psyche of these nations, that Prabhupada wished that there should be a Vaishnava head of the state, and he will naturally have all these divine qualities to look for. It is a huge capacity load that he will have to take. Many of our leaders have so much burden that they can't reach out within their zone even. So to ease out, there are some suggestions and ramifications can be also done. But yes, it's a humongous task to carry on a manageable society. Manageable zones, manageable society. So those who have developed Udar Charitra, means very magnanimous character of Vaishnava quality, then the movement will flourish. When we are given more responsibility, we should become more humbler. We should become more humble. More the responsibility, more humility should be there. And such a character will be pleasing to even ruffians. They may take some disadvantage, but you will be able to correct them by your humility. It doesn't mean that there is no punishment necessary. No, punishment is there. And the ideal punishment scheme is samadama dandabhed. Counseling, it doesn't work, then just give them some enticement of material nature. If it doesn't work, then punish. But then, if it doesn't work, then it says isolation. Prabhu, we tried with you enough. But sometimes we see in ISKCON immediate bhed without going through the three processes. And in Vaishnava Shishtachar, Narahari Sarkar Thakur and Bhakti Ratnaka describes how to deal with a devotee. So, ideal character is necessary. Ideal character is necessary. Of course, there will be a lot of opposition and a lot of things, but ideal character cannot be put at stake just for the position. It's for functionality, not for grabbing a position. So Prithu Maharaj is very, very ideal. So, in Kali Yuga, they do imbalancing right from the beginning. And unfair taxation are levied over the citizens. And that will make people dishonest. More the heaviness of the government falls on the general populace, they will become clever. They will become clever, and they will become dishonest, and they will hide their income in so many ways. Offshore investment. Offshore investment. So many dishonest people. So many. And they may have high position in the society. India is the best example of dishonesty and hiding. And it's called the big business people. They took away the loan from the government. And up till now, the government was putting these loans as, what they call, dysfunctional assets. A very clever name is there. But what is meant by dysfunctional asset? They stole from the government treasury that much money. And that amounts to how many lakhs of crores of rupees. Lakhs of crores. and then you go to the court and spend after them more. And what will be the punishment? So far, not successful. So anyway, so eventually, the state will not be able to collect taxes and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse and there will be chaos and disturbance all over the state. So today there are very little Venas are there everywhere in the states who are bent upon destroying at the expense of their comforts and desires. All right. And the head of the state is getting that headache from previous government. And this destruction is continued and, future. So things will collapse. And Śrīmad Bhāgavatam describes such collapses will be there. So better to cultivate the divine qualities, the Vaishnava qualities, in order to save yourself. Even though if you do not become head of the state, at least become head of your household, that will be better. And run the little governments. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy can be easily done at an individual level rather than collective level. So thank you very much. Anybody has any question? Yeah. You have problem in management? Yeah.
In the respect to you mentioned about the humility and the tolerance that King Buddha Maharaj is exhibiting. In our material life, like in work, it becomes a part of the duty. We can tolerate, it should be corrected. But when it comes to the spiritual life, when we see a disservice to the devotees or the deities, then should we tolerate? Will tolerate be a disservice again because it becomes an offensive to the service? And when we see something, it should be corrected, or it's better to develop the humility.
Looks like a complicated management. I could not understand this way, that way. I'm not in a managing position. That's good. Tell me again short.
If we see a disservice being done, not proper service being done, so in that way, in the devotional life, should we develop the humility, or in what way should be proposed?
No, if somebody is unable to do that service properly, then he should be taught and we should expect certain standard of service. It's not that we have to tolerate those services. They're deliberately imposed upon, even though the rules and regulations have been described and the standard of worship method, everything is worship, whether on the altar or elsewhere. So, one has to be taught, and we expect that such services should be rendered not by his capacity, but meeting the standards. To meet the standard is an important development in the character of a devotee. Even though he is not learned, yet he is being entrusted to do such services, fine. There is no prerequisite. But if he is willing to follow the standards, then he will certainly be pleasing. It's not that we have to bring an expert, even though he doesn't have those qualities. No. In Krishna consciousness, only thing we have to keep Krishna's comforts, desires in center, not ours. That is the standard. Keep Krishna in center. Okay, just put him in center, but that's it? No, now serve him. This is his. To keep Krishna in center means, and he owns your life. He is the Lord and Master.
We have a student of 50 people visiting us. They want a little tour.
Okay, so we have to close the chapter. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna.